Go to.
I've been on a long grind.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of FS Uncut. Joined to you with our usual regulars and special guests today. If I would like to introduce myself as Basil Joseph, and then if I can go over and introduce Harold. How are you doing today after today's match?
I'm good, man. I'm good, bruv. We could have played for a couple of hours and we still would not have scored today, man. I don't even know what to think about us at the moment, but yeah.
I thought it was supposed to be the battle of the two titans, Harold. What happened?
City are looking like the Titans at the moment, so yeah. But with the build-up, yeah, the way everyone was talking about it after, so I even saw a stat that said this was the first time that Liverpool and United were playing each other and they were first and second, and right before the game we went to third. So, so yeah.
I guess the omens were against you then. Also introducing to for today's podcast another special guest, Eddie Jua, or returning guest. Eddie, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, fellas. How are we all doing?
Yeah, man, we're doing good, keeping as well as we can possibly be.
Nah, that's all we got to do. That's all we can hope for at the minute, day by day.
No problem. How did you feel about today's game?
Which one?
the main one, the one that was supposed to be the battle of the Titans, apparently. But
I think it was a massive, I think it was a massive anticlimax because sometimes in these type of games, the build-up is almost better than the game. And this showed us that, there's so much build-up, there's so much, this one going against that one and the histories of the clubs, etc., etc. So you look so forward to it and you kind of sit down, prepare yourself, make sure you're home in time, you're in front of the screen, and all of a sudden it becomes an anticlimax and you're sitting there thinking, what happened there? You're sitting there thinking, the West Brom game the other day was much better, So, it kind of has that momentum about it. And I think history's taught us that over the years. You kind of look at games and you think to yourself, oh, this game's going to be massive because of the way it's built. And you get to the game and it's like everyone cancelling out everyone. Players are afraid to express themselves and play expansive football and really think outside the box, pardon the pun, but, really go for it. And sometimes it just becomes like a stalemate, really.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In fairness, most of Man U v Liverpool matches are like that. But here we have another special guest with us, Ayo Matthews. I see he's donning the proud Manchester United shirt. Team is top of the league 2 weeks running. So how are you feeling about yourself today and your team?
I'm feeling on top of the world right now. I mean, if you had told me beginning of the day United will still be top and Liverpool will end up fourth, I would have snatched at the opportunity. So I'm happy. Like I'm chuffed. More anticlimaxes. More. I want more.
We'll keep that joy for the rest of the podcast. I'd like to see that continue. And once again, we have a Footy Says member, Tommy. How are you doing? Another Manchester United fan.
Yeah,
I guess you've got a lot to say.
No, I'm feeling good. That's about it. I'm feeling good. Job's not finished. Job finished?
What job?
Not finished.
What job? What top four?
Job's not finished. Oh, are we? Who's fourth? Who's just in the top four?
Forget the
Okay,
league.
let me not start. Let's carry on with the show. It's just the beginning.
All right, Harold. I'm going to come over to you. It seems like you're fighting a battle on your own. So let me give you first the right to speak first. Are you worried that Liverpool may not finish top four this season?
Oh, of course not. Come on. Nah, I'm not worried about that at all. I think for us, obviously, we're going through, especially our front three or the two boys are going through a pretty bad period right now. And I think this is the first time in 3-4 years that they've gone through something like this at the same time. So it's just a matter of time till something clicks for them and then go back to their normal goal scoring. It's not going to carry on for the season. Something will change, and eventually, it will change within the next week or two, I think. And I think Jota is back in 2 weeks as well, so that's going to make a difference. And the fact that we're still in and around with the so-called teams pretending they're about to win the league whilst going through this sums it up for me. Do you know what I mean? Which means when we get going, what do? We just leave them behind and keep it moving. So I'm just waiting for that. It's coming.
But at the same time, Harold, don't you think that is a much competitive league this season? I don't think anything is guaranteed. I mean, United are top. That should tell you something. So, if United can be top of the table, how can you be so sure that Liverpool can even finish top 4?
Do you know what? I don't even think it's more competitive. I still think, obviously, Corona has made it the fixture list more intense, but I think it's been like that for the past few seasons. It's just we've always had one or two clubs who are far ahead of everyone, and obviously due to injuries and the intensity of the schedule, they've kind of dropped down to everyone's level. So I've been saying it from the start of the season. I still think the top 6 that we always speak about, well, minus Arsenal, are gonna finish in the top 5-6 positions like they usually do. So I still expect my top 4 to be Liverpool, City, United, and one more. So I don't think anything has changed in that manner.
Okay, before I come to United fans, let me move over to you, Eddie. United, can they continue this? Can they keep this up?
Well, I think, you know what, it's so funny to hear, us having a conversation about almost Man United as a laughing stock. You know what I mean? This is a club that not so long ago was arguably the most feared team on the planet. You know what I mean? And definitely, certainly in the Premier League. And I think, the tide has turned now to, City's dominance now. Of course, Liverpool doing what, they was doing back in the 80s, which was dominating teams. But I just feel like United have the history and they have like, the players to do it. Let's be honest, they've got top players. United have top players, they have some real superstar players that's won things and players that's been there, done it, got the t-shirt. But I think United's biggest problem has been they've not had the right manager to get the best out of the team, And no one can't tell me Paul Pogba is a bad player of United. It doesn't happen. You know what I mean? You only talk that way if you don't know nothing about football. And when you have players like Paul, you have to make sure that, you almost build a team in and around them superstar players, your Rashfords, your Pauls, your Mason Greenwood, who's going to be a top player as well. But I just feel like the tide has turned somewhat. But I think United, I don't see them winning the league this year. I think that will be a big ask, But I think what they would do is they will give a real bit of account of themselves and maybe push Liverpool and City close to that. I think City will probably push Liverpool closest to winning the title, followed by United third. And then, I just get a sneaky feeling Jose Mourinho would do something special at Spurs. Because I think at Spurs he's got the attention of the players big time, and the players are all buying into what he's doing and what he's saying. But go back to answer your question. I just think United won't win the league this year. I think they'll come a close second or third.
Perfect. Ayo, I know you have your train ticket ready for Manchester for when restrictions are lifted and you can go and celebrate that open bus parade. What are your thoughts on United in today's game overall?
I'm like I said, if you said to me before, you would draw and City would win and Liverpool would be fourth and you still be first, I would have been like, cool. But watching that actual game, as soon as the final whistle went, I was upset because I really felt like we could and should have won that game. Like, I really felt we should have won that game. I think both teams were trying to nullify each other. You can see that Liverpool gave away like 15 fouls in the game because they were trying to stop the counter attacks. Little Thiago and Fabinho, like little tackles here and there. But I feel like United made a good account of ourselves, and I really honestly feel like I'm happy for City to keep on winning games and City to be the main challengers. And the same way we crept up out of nowhere in September and ended up top in January, we'll just keep doing our thing quietly. And then everyone's going to be like, whoa, what's happening here? How are United here? That's how I like it. When the pressure's on us and the spotlight's on us, we crumble. And that's a fact. We always crumble. So I prefer it. Let City and Liverpool go toe-to-toe, headbutting each other, fighting and doing whatever. And let us just keep creeping and keep getting results. That's my thing.
Perfect. All right, Tommy, moving over to you. So I've got two questions for you, Tommy. First one. Has the perspective of Ole changed? over the last few weeks as to as a manager and what he can achieve. And my next question, which I then pass on to everyone else, do we need to stop hyping this Liverpool v Manchester United game? Because for over a decade, it's been a match for me that hasn't lived up to expectations. I think people are still living in the rivalry that they had pre-90s. And ultimately, these matches aren't living up. So do people need to stop hyping up that game every time it comes around, regardless of where those two teams are in the league?
So to answer your first question about Ole, you know, in Man U's fan base, there are a lot of ops. Many of them. People calling for Posh. People calling for this one. People calling for that one. And look what Ole has done. The PE teacher. So if a PE teacher's gone to the top of
the PE teacher.
Yeah,
if the PE teacher has gone to the top of the league, every single manager in the league should be ashamed of themselves. As long as he's on the top, like everyone else should be ashamed of themselves. So that's for the ops in the Man U fan base. Support the team. How can look at that one? Look at the comment. Let me know. Second question. Liverpool Man U. I think because of the history of both teams, it's always going to be a big match. Yeah. The match might not live up to expectations, but at the end of the season, those matches are always very pivotal in what goes on towards the end of the season. Like I would say 99% of the time in the Premier League, those matches are always very pivotal. So whether it's boring, whether it's 0-0, they can decide a lot what happens at the end of the season. Yeah. Fortunately, they nullify each other a lot. Man U are obviously the better team, but
you see, my thing in regards to that is this. I think for the new generation, I think it's more for the older generation that game seems to have that kind of buzz around. I think for the new generation, you generally tend to look at where teams are, the teams you've grown up with, who's been competitive over the last few years, and lean more towards being excited for that. Yeah. I mean, obviously, me, I was born in the 90s, and when I was in school, the big matches for me were the Arsenal v United matches because those were the two teams competing for the league, and those were two teams where the games actually mattered. Yes, they was throwing the Manchester United-Liverpool rivalry, but at the time, Liverpool weren't a competitive team in the league. So then it sort of lost its way a bit. And I feel we're still trying to do that now. It was only recently Liverpool have won the league, but that's the first league title in 30 years. And so we're still trying to drive this whole Manchester United-Liverpool thing. And I feel for the new generation, I feel it was a bit lost on them because ultimately... go on.
One thing I would say is, I'm going to sound old here, but football's lost its passion. Do you remember the days of Vieira and Keane fighting in the tunnel? Like, you get hyped up. Now you've got Thiago and De Gea, Spanish lovers. There's no more rivalries anymore.
No, it's
like
become,
people aren't aggressive anymore.
Yeah, it's become... I think Roy Keane always picks up on that point. You know, I think as a Man United ex-player and captain and a leader of that ship for many, many years, and I love watching Roy because Roy is almost, like you said, he's almost old school in terms of his thought process and the way he goes and attacks games, and he's the way he wants players to go out and attack games as well. And I think if you look at the derbies that we're speaking about, you know, Manchester United versus Liverpool, Man United versus City, there's almost that level of rivalry that spills over into, you know, you might be my friend on the Monday to Friday, but come Saturday, we ain't having it. Do you know what I mean? And I think right now football's kind of lost its way to everybody's friend, and everybody is you know, pals, and you know, they're all patting each other on the back, almost swapping shirts before the game's even started. You know what I mean? You know, and I think the biggest reason why that has happened over the years is because the influx personally of the foreign players, because the foreign players don't really know and understand the history of them type of derbies. And if you're not of the mindset of, you know, what a Manchester derby means to you or a Liverpool United derby means to you, you almost come from Benfica going, well, you know, this means nothing to me. You know, this means nothing to me. Benfica Porto was a bigger derby than this. So I'm just coming here to just play football and do my job. And I think what we're talking about here is more than a job. You know, when you get derby days, it's about bragging rights for the rest of the season. Do you know what I mean? Until we meet again, you know, almost. And I just think that's been lost in football. It's got very, very commercial, and it's like you said, you know, you don't sound old school at all in what you're saying. I totally believe in that, and I think even from my time in watching football, and certainly playing with certain players that's gone on to captain Man United, and knowing them, you know, they were furious before a game. You know, it's like, you know what, when I see him, it's me and you. And now it's like, oh, when I see him, we're going to be talking about when we got on holiday together. You know what I mean? So that edge and that fight to be the best team in your area is almost lost. And I feel that's lost again because of the influx of foreign players, and not only foreign players, but players that don't really understand the culture of the derby and the area and the team that they play for.
What I will say to your question, Basil, is although both teams aren't necessarily both teams haven't been great at the same time. There's been a period where Liverpool have been poor and United have dominated, and now Liverpool have been great. Liverpool have dominated and United have been poor. No matter what, Anfield and Old Trafford for both teams is still a tough place to go. Klopp hasn't won at Old Trafford, as great as he is. You know, Liverpool still have an unbeaten record that stretches for, what is it, almost 4 years now. Rooney, as great as a player Rooney is, Rooney's toughest opposition was Liverpool. So as much as, you know, it doesn't have the same oomph and it may not have the same, like, the magnitude as it was then, it's still a very big game. It's still one of the most important games of the season, no matter what. And the games itself might be boring, but I don't think the importance of it will ever be stripped away.
No, definitely not. And I think because they're two massive brands, they're two humongous household heritage brands in football. So you're right, it's never going to get lost in terms of Liverpool, Man United. People are going to watch it wherever they are all over the world because of them two names. They're the biggest names in world football, right? But I feel that when it comes to crossing that white line and playing, it's like there ain't no Paul Lindsay, there's no Roy Kings, there's no, you know what I mean? There ain't that type of animosity towards each other. It's all very cleanliness and it's all very clinical in terms of, okay, you're my friend, I'm not going to tackle you too. And if I do put one on you, I'm going to pick you up. Like,
I think that's reflected in football in general, because we don't have those characters in football anymore. Even like Man United with like mid-table teams like Arsenal, there's not much of that going on right now.
No, I totally agree with you guys. But do you know what? Especially as a Liverpool fan and going toe to toe with City in the past 2 years, what you have to understand is when I can't talk for people that live in Liverpool, but when you're a Liverpool fan from out of Liverpool and support Liverpool, the international fans, the worldwide fans, we don't even know a lot of City fans. Do you get what I mean? So even if we beat City or they beat us, who's bragging to me? There's no one I'm bragging to. There's no one that Twitter's helped, but ultimately there's only so far you can go. Whereas with Liverpool, Man United, there's so many of us around each other, whether it's online or in person, that even in 20 years' time, that will still be the case. That will forever be the case. So we almost feel like we have more to lose when we're playing those games. Because if I lost today, I wouldn't have showed up here. If they lost, I wouldn't allow them to show up here. Whereas if we lost to City, even to Everton to an extent, who are our close rivals, the passion and what makes it is as well, for a very long time, since the 80s, Everton haven't been close to Liverpool in that regard. United have dominated. We've gotten close, falling off, and now it's switched around. So no rivalry in this country will ever touch a Liverpool Man United.
Even the style of managers then compared to now. When you look at then, you had Fergie, who was in your face. You had Rafa going to the press with his facts and stuff like that. But now, when you look at the managers now, even the way they set up tactically, as Eddie is saying, when they get on the pitch, they're trying to outsmart their opponents so much that they're not doing things instinctively. When you're supposed to go in and clatter someone, let him know you're here, they're thinking, let me press him. Let me press him and mark the space. Let me get into the space so he can't play that pass. So there's so much thinking involved in the game now. So I do agree that it's been stripped away in that element. But I think that's just football in general. Like, a lot of it has been stripped away. These managers that we praise now, we praise them for, how they approach games tactically and their approach. And, you get Arteta playing Willian false nine and Guardiola doing all these funny things. And it's like, that's how football is now. But I still think that just the magnitude of Man United, Liverpool, like it just means, it will always mean so much.
And if you watch the game, if you watch the game, that's why they don't go for it. Because the managers are thinking, I cannot lose this game. If we go play City, we can lose that City game. Like we don't want to lose, but that United game, they know, and the players, even if they're foreign players, they know for their fans, they can't lose that game. Even if it doesn't play any role in the league table, the managers know for my fans, the players know for my fans, I can't lose this game. And that's how they approach the game.
Yeah. Do you know what? Moving on, that's a good opinion. So Tommy, I'm going to come to you. So a player retired this week, Wayne Rooney, and for me, he's a player that divides opinions.
He shouldn't.
And in fairness, I don't even think he even got the deserving tribute that maybe other footballers do get up. Here's a Liverpool man, the one that was talking to Mac earlier last week, saying Liverpool will be top of the table. Look what time he arrived. Don't worry, I'll come back to you, Daniel. But yeah, Tommy, I don't even think he even got the tribute that a player of his quality deserves. What's your thoughts on Wayne Rooney, and why do you think he divides so much opinion?
You really put me on the spot with this one. You should have let me prepare. But, yeah, because let's be honest. Let me draw back the curtain quickly. I'm one of the people, Man U fan, and this is going to sound contradictory, saying there's a lot of ops in the Man U fan base. But I'm one of the people that have said Wayne Rooney isn't as big as he was supposed to be.
Get him off. Get him off.
No, wait. No, there's. Do you know what? Yeah, I want him to explain. Tommy. Yeah, there's two things to unpack there. Because I agree. He wasn't the player that he was expected to be at 16. But was he world class? That's where my issue lies. If you say no, that is where.
There was a point Rooney was world class. There was a point like 2-3 seasons that Rooney was world class.
Okay.
Fell off when he got the hair transplant. There's a correlation between Rooney getting his hair transplant and him falling off. Just watch back Premier League years. But yeah, I feel like Rooney, in terms of Ballon d'Or, those type of accolades, he was never put in the conversation. And I feel there's a reason for that. Like
Messi and Ronaldo.
He wasn't even third though.
He came fifth.
Yes,
He came fifth.
His highest behind those was fifth.
I think the thing is with Wayne Rooney, and also with a lot of young players, people think that they're just going to be the best forever. That they don't think about other players. Like, okay, Rooney wasn't third, but you can't tell me Iniesta wasn't a bad player. So not being third when players like Iniesta, players like Schneider were third, doesn't mean Wayne Rooney all of a sudden was a bad player, in my opinion. He was still excellent.
No, I didn't say he was a bad player. Wayne Rooney's a Man U legend. He's a Man United legend.
But was he world class?
For 3 seasons, he was world class.
Yes or no? Don't just yes or no. That's it.
He's giving you his answer for 3 seasons.
Rooney was world class. If you put him,
that's
like
cool.
That's it. That's all you got to say.
Tommy, I'm moving on. It doesn't seem they're happy with you. So figure about to Eddie. What about your thoughts on Wayne Rooney? What would you say was your favorite Wayne Rooney moment?
Oh, first of all, 100% Rooney was a top player in every way, shape or form. I think for what Wayne did, coming from where he came from, the start he had at Everton, that famous goal he scored against my team Arsenal all them years ago. He was always going to ride that crest to greatness, and I think he achieved it for sure, because you don't go to United and play under Sir Alex Ferguson and be a regular in that team that they had. You got to remember, it wasn't a Man United team that they've got now. This was a solid Manchester United team that went to Champions League finals, back-to-back wins of the Premier League, FA Cup. They were a solid team, and I was very fortunate enough to watch the team play on a number of occasions, home and away. And watching Man United, and especially Wayne Rooney at Old Trafford, he almost had that. He was an ugly David Beckham in terms of that factor, you know. In terms of that factor, his football ability was second to none. But had Wayne Rooney have been as good looking as David,
You know what? You might have a point. You actually might have
I'm
a
being
point.
honest with you. I'm being honest with you. If David was, this is not even for a laugh, boys. I'm being dead serious. And this is where the professional side that I sit at, we have these discussions. And I know you guys are going to think, Ed, you're talking nuts. What does a boy look like compared to what type of levels?
You need to mark him and create a brand around him.
Because you think about what I'm saying. Ronaldo, he came in. Beckham, he came in. These boys was never born great looking guys. They made themselves great looking. Do you know what I mean? They worked on their body. David got a Spice Girl. You know what I mean? She became a fashion designer. She bought him as her muse. You know what I mean? Ronaldo came in with acne braces, mad hairstyle. He's now rebellious. You know what I mean? So you got to understand what I'm saying. The correlation is that Wayne Rooney was just a butters in every way. But his football ability was second to none. And if he was as good looking as Ronaldo or David Beckham, we will all be sitting there waxing lyrical about he achieved this, he achieved that. But purely on his football thing, he was a genius, the guy. Genius. And I think, you know, maybe he hasn't got the accolades that he deserves as such in terms of the hype behind it, because, you know, I think there was a few things in his career that he did that I don't think he would be too proud of now looking back at it. But I think that was all a part of the process and all a part of the environment he came from, you know. So, but does that take anything away from Rooney? Hell no. I think he was a top player. And I think he was in the era where there was a Ronaldo and a Messi, and it's very, very difficult. Neymar, very, very difficult to get in front of them guys when they're playing for the clubs that they're playing for. Yes.
No arguments.
I think the main debate. I think Rooney's world class. Obviously, I'm a Man United fan, but I think the main argument people have with Rooney was that he wasn't a pure number 9, so you couldn't put him up there with the pure number 9 number 9s, and he wasn't a pure number 10, so you couldn't put him up there with the pure number 10s as well. He almost operated as a 9.5. So when I've had this debate like the past 2 days, so it's like everyone's saying, oh, why are we creating this position of 9.5 for Wayne Rooney? Who else is a 9.5? But that is who Wayne Rooney is. You know, he was in the top 5 of goal scorers in the Prem and the top 5 of assists. He could score goals and he could create goals. Fair enough, he wasn't a pure number 9 or a pure number 10, but he gave you both when you needed it. When United didn't have strikers, he stepped up. He got 30 plus goals. When United did have strikers, Van Persie steps in. All right, cool. I'm going to facilitate now for the Sahas, the Van Nistelrooys, the Van Persies, even Ronaldo from the left wing. I'm going to let him shine. But he was always instrumental in those successful sides. And so when people make that argument, I can't get it.
No, and I just caveat that as well, because the reason why Wayne Rooney was not a 9 or not a 10 or not this, because he was a pure footballer.
Yeah.
He would go looking for that ball. He was a pure footballer, like how Neymar is. These guys, you can't just say, okay, like Harry Kane, go and play up front. How can you do that all day? Because he doesn't have that ability to go and get on the ball, drop a shoulder, chop a man, and do this, that, and the third. He doesn't have that DNA.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where Rooney was just a pure, you know what, know that kid that plays out in your school team? Yeah. Just get the ball, dribble 10 man, and bang it. That's Wayne. And he separated his own career. So I agree. If you pigeonhole Wayne, we don't have this conversation. Do you get what I mean? I don't think you pigeonhole him, you don't have this conversation. If you talk about a number 9, we can all turn and say Harry Kane is a top number 9. Andy Cole top number 9. He almost played like a Thierry Henry type of role, an early Thierry Henry role. Just go out and get the ball and do what you do.
Yeah. So Aya, just a quick follow up with that. Do you think maybe Rooney could have gone up maybe a level or 2 from maybe where he reached in terms of peak wise? Do you think that maybe potentially people were expecting him to go up a level or two, or that he could have gone up a level or two?
I think, yeah, I think he could have. I don't think he lived up to who we saw. The 16-year-old we saw at Everton and the young player that we saw at Man United. I think,
Even Euro 2004 as well.
Yeah, and the Euros, which he absolutely destroyed. I think, maybe it was, not looking after his body or not having the same drive as someone like Cristiano Ronaldo or putting in the extra hours in training. I don't know, but it just seemed like he didn't get to the levels that he did. And, even how many World Cup goals? Three
or so.
3 World Cup goals, and one of them was from open play. The tapping, So like little things like that. So when you start bringing stats about Rooney, there's so many things that people can pick apart, which is irritating. So I just feel like he didn't reach. He was still world class, but he didn't reach I'll speak for myself. What I saw he could be, and probably what most people saw at a young age. He lost so much pace and so many different things.
Do you know what? Just to quickly add to your point, if you look at the Ronaldos, right, they realize that, hold on, being explosive is one of my biggest strengths, and they worked on either maintaining it for a longer period or becoming even more explosive. Whereas Rooney's explosiveness was so natural, he was like, it's not. I don't need to work on it. Like I've got.
That's right. That's what goes back to that kid in the playground.
Yeah. And unfortunately, in football, there's only so long you can rely on that natural ability and the natural explosiveness for. So
injury.
If you look at Wayne, Wayne is the type of character. He only has to look at food to put on weight. Do you know what I mean? He looks at you know what I mean? You get these characters in football. You get these characters in football, and you've got a character in football that he can eat and drink anything that he wants, and he will still be as lean as you like and as fit as you like. But then you've got some players which, I won't expose them too much, but they have specific meal plans. You can't have that. At training ground, they'll go, right, everybody else is having this, you're gonna have that because you're the way. That's how football is now, and that's where football grew from. So people like Wayne was one of these guys that he could do 1 million sit-ups a day. He would never have a physique like Ronaldo. Do you know what I mean? He just wasn't blessed in that way. He just had that natural gift, which was, listen, I'm a baller.
Give me the ball. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you're from out of Liverpool like that, you don't really, you love a beer, you love a night out, you love chips, you love your curries, you know what I mean? So you love all these things that you're growing up seeing. So, from when you're from like Europe, with the Italian boys, the Mediterranean boys, these boys actually, believe it or not, you go out with these athletes and they will order bottles of wine with their dinner, but they don't drink the wine to go and get smashed. They drink the wine to complement the food.
Yeah.
And you see, you go, wait a minute, you just drank 3 bottles of wine and we've had the same conversation and you're straight. Yeah. You could go with one of your English mates and go, come, let's go out for dinner. He drinks 5 bottles of wine and he is KO'd because he's drinking it for a different reason. Yeah. And that's what I learned through my traveling and traveling all over Europe and speaking and knowing different types of players. It's a cultural thing, Yeah. So I think all them kind of elements never helped Wayne to become that supreme athlete that maybe we all saw at 15, 16.
Perfect. So Tommy, coming back to you quickly to wrap things up, since you got things here, what would you say is Wayne Rooney's greatest goal? And feel free to chip in others quickly if you could think of it. So for me personally, is it
Newcastle?
Newcastle for me. Newcastle for me. The volley.
That one is folklore, but it's the Man City one and the celebration, man.
Oh, for me, that's the
that one is. That will live on forever. That was so.
You see that goal there for me on the personal note.
Yeah.
Being at that stadium, seeing that goal.
You saw it live.
Seeing the celebration, seeing the reaction, and when you're sat there, you're going, he didn't do that.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. And the thing is, you see Michael Richards trying to head the ball.
Yeah.
And extend his neck, and you're just looking at going, no, you didn't do that. A game like that, against your local rivals, and that's
Yeah.
what City was called the noisy neighbours. And he just had all the elements. So for me, listen, hands down, that was the best goal he ever scored.
To put us 2-1 up. To put us 2-1 up as well.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the
massive
game.
goal, massive goal. But again, that speaks to the kid. That speaks to that kid that plays football for the love. You know, that's him, man. That was natural. He would do that 20 times.
No, but the Newcastle one though, where he was talking to the ref, wasn't he?
He was furious.
He was furious about something.
He's like, "Hold on, give me a minute, I'm coming."
You know what? Yeah, you know what? Even if he did that, I'll be like, cool. But it wasn't even hold on. I think he was shouting at the ref, and the ball just came. The ball just came, and then he just smacked it. He was like, "F this." Even the celebration, he kicked the ball back again into the net. It was just pure anger, like pure anger. Unbelievable, man.
No, definitely. In my opinion, I think he's probably the most gifted English player that they produce. I don't think technique-wise, I don't think there's a player that has as many facets that Wayne Rooney has to his game. So yeah, no, definitely a legend in the game. And yeah, he definitely will be left with fond memories as to what he did and the joy he gave to many people, even rival fans such as Daniel and Harold. So Daniel, moving on. Ultimately, in this transfer window, we've seen West Ham sell Haller, and ultimately, after a year and a bit, they realise it's not going to work out with this player. Let's cut our losses and try and gather as much money as we can and reinvest. Obviously, we've seen it with other managers where they're quite strict. We've seen it with Pep when he brought in, Claudio Bravo from Barcelona. It doesn't work out. Let's cut our losses and look elsewhere. You look at teams like Arsenal where they're still persisting with the likes of Pepe. It doesn't seem like that is going to work out and that is going to live up to the transfer value that was set upon him. When do you think it's the right time for a club to say, okay, this isn't working out, let's look to move this player on, or let's look to replace him with someone else? Do you think sometimes clubs take too long, or do you think that there's a set period of time that clubs should analyze a player and say it's not going to work out?
I don't think there's a set period of time. It depends on each player. For example, Claudio Bravo with Man City. Pep came to win the Champions League, to win the league, and you have a keeper that's getting you fourth place. You have to change that immediately. With Pepe, I just think Arsenal got gassed, and they've been gassed for a long time, and now they just clocked this guy really isn't good. So with players like him, I wouldn't say he isn't good. He isn't good enough to be what Arsenal want him to be at the moment. So they need to get rid of him because he's not a £72 million player, in my opinion.
But Daniel, they have Willian. They can't. There's no way they can get rid of Pepe
before Willian.
That's true. That's true.
He has to stay.
And I think when you got to remember, guys, again, you know, I always wear two hats when we're talking about players and players being transferred for such large sums of money. You know, the fan in me will say, you know what, guys, you're not cutting it. What you're doing? Do you know what I mean? You're not cutting it. But when you're dealing with a player of that level, when you're working on the transfer at a club, you got to remember, somebody has told the hierarchy spend 75 million, right? So that person that actually signed that deal has to make this deal happen because his whole livelihood depends on that deal. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, even on that's big numbers, but it's all relative to football. But 75 million for a player that has come in and has not hit the ground running whatsoever. He's had a flash of brilliance, then he's not done nothing for 5 games, and he comes back again. I just feel like behind the scenes, there's a lot of work going on and saying, listen, let's get this guy up to speed. But it takes a strong manager like a Pep Guardiola to turn around and go, you know what? You ain't really going to work for me because you're not showing me anything in training and you're not showing me anything in your body language that is going to tell me that you're going to fulfill that potential and that promise as a player. So with Pepe, he's been very, very unfortunate to come into an Arsenal team that has been playing so bad for such a good few years now. And you could put anybody in that team, I don't think you'll get the results. Like, then you go and get someone like Willian to come in at Arsenal. I sit there and I think to myself, how? Where's the sense in this? And And this is when you look at football, and sometimes I fall out of love with it, and I just sit there and I think it's just such a commercial world. It's not even based on ability anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like William has no right to block any kid's path. The kid walks around, he doesn't give a monkey. He's been doing this at Chelsea.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's why I kept him.
Yeah.
Because he played with for a number of years, right? And
That's true.
you know, so I just feel like Arsenal are just going around scraping at the bottom of the barrel. We've lost our mojo in terms of us being that London club that people want to come to play in the Arsenal way. You know, we have really, really lost our way. And I think since Arsenal's gone, we've gone backwards again. Unai Emery came in, didn't quite gel with us. Mikel Arteta's come in, and I think again, Arteta's only been brought in because he was Pep's number 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
He hasn't, you know, he was Pep's number 2. Me and you, anyone in this group call can be Pep's number 2 at Man City. So we know once we leave that, we're made for life, right?
Yeah.
So I just don't understand the correlation to doing that when there's other managers out there, or there's other players out there that's gone in and done the hard graft and gone, you know what, I'm gonna be, you know, you're not gonna be right for us. So therefore, you sign a player that comes in on the pretense that he's gonna be the right image for your club. Forget about the football side of it, the right image for your club, and you only have to look at what he's doing with top players like Ozil. You know, he's not finding remedy for Pepe. You know, he's playing Willian. It's like Arteta, what you doing? And he's done that thing that AVB did when he got to Spurs. He's come in as a young manager and he's straight away throwing his gauntlet down, saying, you know, I'm the boss. If you guys don't listen to me, you're right.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done. And I feel because he was Arsenal captain, because he played under Arsene Wenger, because he had a history at that club, it buys him a little bit more time and credit than it would do any other manager.
100%. Daniel, your thoughts
On Arteta?
Go on.
I fully agree, and I think like in football, another thing that annoys me is that people and clubs want to hire an ex-legend so badly, and I feel like that sort of gives them clout, and it gives them clout that they don't deserve, in my opinion. Like Eddie said, there's no reason why a manager with Mikel Arteta's CV, which is nothing, by the way, should be managing a club as big as Arsenal. And Arsenal are a very, very big club. Apart from Liverpool and Man United, also the third biggest club in England. So there's no reason why a rookie should be in charge of an institution like that. But like Eddie said, Arsenal is just run by some people who have just been making some funny decisions. Like you said, Willian, the Ozil situation, you've just given Aubameyang 300k a week. I didn't think that was the best decision, in my opinion, personally, because you made that mistake with Ozil and you just made the exact same mistake with Aubameyang. So Arsenal's situation, it's deep. It's very deep.
And just
Harold,
to add to it, I think so there are a few clubs, and I'll give examples. I think you look at Liverpool, you look at Bayern Munich, and Eddie will probably agree to this. There are a few clubs that seem to have hit the jackpot with the scouting department, and they tend to target the right players. Even if they have 3 options, all those 3 players can come in and perform at a similar level. And what I think is happening, and I don't know if it does actually happen, is you have people like Arsenal and a few other clubs looking at maybe a Bayern Munich target, a Liverpool target, and thinking, if they're going for him, he might be decent. If they're going for him, he might actually be all right. So they're coming in saying, oh, can we get involved in the situation? Is he available? And Liverpool and Bayern Munich pulled out, and they explained why they pulled out of that Pepe deal. Do you know what I mean? There were several reasons going around that, this reason, that reason. But I guess Arsenal felt like, hold on, you've been there in the first place. So there must be a reason why you went there in the first place. So if you're walking away, we're going to take him, almost like we're going to take your second and third choice. Sorry?
It's a panic buy.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get this done quickly. And then show the fans that, oh, look, Bayern Munich, this guy wanted him, but we've got him. You see what I mean? And if you're going to do that, you also have to have the manager who will make these guys perform. Pepe wasn't doing well. You have to pull him out. You have to pull him out of that situation. He let him play until he got to that stage where his confidence was so low. And now Arsenal fans don't even want to back him. Opposition fans thinks he's a joke. So to recover from that, even when Pepe has a decent game or a good game, no one cares. No one actually cares. So, but that's the thing. That's what makes special managers. If the guy's not performing, pull him out. Do you know what I mean? Don't wait till his reputation is absolutely gone, and then you expect him to play with any sort of confidence. People close to the boy are probably looking at him and thinking, "What's happening? You have the ability, but in football, if you're not right up here, nothing's gonna happen." You see what I mean? And like Eddie said with Arteta, same thing where everyone's talking, and there's a pattern here. When you see people and football men talk about a certain player that maybe the big boys are not fully going in for, Arsenal jump in. And it's the same thing with Arteta, where everyone's talking about, City are preparing him to replace Pep. Did they tell you that? They didn't tell you that. Did you get what I mean? They're bringing him as an Arsenal legend. How long did he play for the club for? Everton should be the one bringing him in, but they want to get Ancelotti, and you're getting Arteta.
That's the manager that should have gone to Arsenal.
Yeah,
that's the manager that should have gone to Arsenal. And Everton thought, you know what, we've done this with Marco Silva. We ain't doing that again. Let's go and get someone that is tried and tested.
Exactly.
And look what Ancelotti's doing for them right now.
Very well.
He should have came to Arsenal as soon as he left his last club. What was it? What was Ancelotti?
I think it's Bayern Munich.
PSG. Bayern Munich.
Exactly.
Bayern Munich. Yeah.
And Arsenal could have easily got him. So I don't. They're based, for me. The football guys at Arsenal are looking at other people and looking at what they're doing and then trying to get involved. But unfortunately,
the thing is with Arsenal. The thing is with Arsenal is that Arsenal is not run by footballing people.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not.
You see what I'm saying? Arsenal it almost goes back to Ed Woodward's situation at Man United. He's not a footballing man. So therefore, it's very difficult to go and explain football choices and decisions to him.
Yeah.
Arsenal don't have, and Arsenal had a footballing man in Sir Arsene Wenger at the helm for many, many years. So they took that role for granted. So as soon as he was went out, he said, "Okay, I'm going, but I know as soon as I leave, you guys are going to be screaming for me because there's no infrastructure set up for when I leave. Because I've taken all the blueprints and all the keys with me." Do you know what I mean? So by the time you guys find the blueprint or make a new one or cut a key, you're going to be languishing in 10th position. That's what we're seeing now.
No, 100%.
You know,
agree.
so it's such a mixed bag at the moment. I feel, you know, the choices that Arsenal's been making has been bad decisions and bad choices for a long, long time. You know, you got David Silva, bad decision. You got William, terrible decision. You know, you spend £75 million on Pepe for having 2 good seasons in a French league, which doesn't really compare to the Premier League. Yeah. So who's doing the homework there then? You know?
Yeah, no, I agree. But Tommy, coming over to you and talking about bad decisions or leaving things a bit too late. Obviously, it looks like Ozil's finally departing from Arsenal. It looks like he's going to receive a payoff for what was remaining of his contract value and move to Fenerbahce on a free transfer. Explain that sad situation and where it all went wrong for both player and for both club.
I don't know really, because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes at Arsenal, but there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around Twitter. You know, that's where we get all our news from now. About this, his political views on what's going on in China. I don't want to go into all that, but I feel like maybe there were sponsors. Maybe they have sponsors. Maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't play a creator like Ozil. Even if he doesn't show up in big matches, just play the guy. The guy has natural ability. You know how we're talking about Rooney, how he's got natural ability. Ozil is one of those players. You see his eyes, he can see everything. Like, he can see everything on the pitch. So when they need creativity in this Arsenal team, it's just the irony that they've let go of their most creative player they've had for years for free, and they're paying off his contract when this club is already showing that they're broke, buying William for free. It makes no sense.
I think that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest issue with the whole Ozil thing. That he's going for free. And it's a pattern with Arsenal. Ramsey, Ozil, and Sanchez. What they've done for Arsenal, there's absolutely no
happening way before that as well.
Yeah, there's no reason why those three players should be going for free for nothing.
That's 100 million right there. 100 million in their prime.
However, I think Ozil, I think it was time for him to go personally. And even though what he did with China, that whole situation, how Arsenal handled it, I don't think they did it too well. But I also think Ozil wasn't in the team for footballing reasons. We can't sit here and say that since about 2017, Ozil has been playing at the level that we know that he can perform at. When he was at Arsenal during 2017 to 2020, Arsenal weren't doing much with or without Ozil. So I think there's also a footballing reason to why he wasn't starting. But him not being in the squad, for me, that was a disgrace.
But bro, they don't have better. You don't have better players at the club. And just to quickly like chime in here, I think there's obviously more that happened, and it's not just a football thing. It wasn't a football thing. And till this day, I guess the speculations, everyone, I don't even know what it was. I'm not sure if it was just the China thing.
Mm-hmm. No, I think with the Ozil situation, it's now become personal, okay? Because there's nobody at Arsenal Football Club and very few players in the Premier League that can do what Ozil can do and bring to the party what Ozil brings to the party. He's got vision, he's got passing ability, he can put the ball through the eye of a needle. He has all these attributes that he has shown and displayed, and he's been at top clubs. But to say to me that Smith Rowe is now the guy that's going to come and take over Arsenal, it's laughable. Fair play to Smith Rowe. I love young players coming through, but there's levels to this. You know, Smith Rowe ain't going to give you the World Cup. He ain't going to make you win the Premier League or FA Cup. He ain't going to do that. He's going to be a young kid that's going to need 4 or 5 years to develop. Then maybe he's got a chance. But there's not one player at Arsenal, okay, that can do or even tie Ozil's laces. And that for me shows me and should show everybody that this is not a footballing decision. And right now, Arsenal's cut off their nose to spite their face, and they are really going to pay for it and they are paying for it because this guy is a footballing genius. He's a natural player. He's our version of Kevin De Bruyne, and there's nobody in that club remotely close to him to say, okay, well, you know what, maybe let him go now because he's the wrong side of 20, so we can bring in somebody else. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Just to
pick up for you as saying, Eddie. Yeah, I agree with you. I think ultimately there was times Ozil did not consistently perform in particular games when he started, and so I could understand maybe not starting Ozil consistently in particular games. I guess the gripe with me is when you completely shut him out of the team, knowing that we were devoid of creativity, knowing that we even devoid of depth and quality, because sometimes when you look at our bench, it isn't great. Sometimes our starting lineup
does not scare anybody
at all. And then obviously, and even echoing what Daniel said, I think the biggest travesty is that we can't even generate a fee for Ozil. You're talking about one of the most gifted football players in world history, considering how much we spent. Arsenal couldn't do business to even at least generate a fee from him. And like I said, it's been an ongoing pattern at Arsenal where players have been forced to leave, where we've been forced to sell, even though we dragged our feet because players have decided not to sign their contracts. Even the Sanchez situation was very farcical in how that was handled in the end. Arsenal we're not selling, he's staying. And in the end, they do a swap with Mkhitaryan. And even the Ramsey situation was quite farcical how that ended up. And it just seems to be an ongoing pattern that Arsenal just don't seem to be learning from and just don't seem to know how to manage well moving forward. But you had a quick point, Harold.
Yeah, just to add to it, I remember reading an article saying that Iwobi and Oxlade-Chamberlain are the 2 players that have generated good fees for Arsenal. And if you look at the players that have left that club, they should have generated the least amount. You know what I mean? In terms of Sanchez, Ozil. Yeah, and if you look at other clubs, Bayern Munich, again, Liverpool, their winning pattern is the fact that they sell their players for premium, and then that's how they're able to recruit. You can't be selling guys. You can't be letting Ozil walk out for free when you spent 75 million on Pepe. There's no way you're going to be successful doing that, because now next summer you have to go spend. And you look at that Arsenal team, there's no assets where you can be like, oh, you can sell this guy and generate money. There's no one. There's no one at that club. Aubameyang is 32 now. Maybe you're probably looking at it thinking when that Chinese club were offering God knows how much money, you should have looked at it and go, you're 31, 32, someone's offering 70 million. You have to think about it. And Arsenal are taking the wrong risks. That's what I think. And until that changes, I don't see anything changing there.
Can I ask you guys, when you see an Arsenal team, do you look at an Arsenal team and go, oh my God, we're going to score today and we're going to be dominant. We're going to dominate this team. We're going to dominate that game. Because I'm telling you now, I don't look at Arsenal team and I just see, okay, oh, he's a youngster. He's a good little player. He's all right. There's nothing that gets me excited or puts me on the edge of my seat to go, oh, I can't wait to watch Henry or Patrick Vieira run him over this one or that one or Bergkamp or Ian Wright. There's nothing. There's nothing there.
100% agree with you, Eddie.
We're putting all that age on a kid called Saka. That is nuts for me.
Yeah,
Saka's a top player.
I'm just excited to see where Saka's gonna move to.
We know he's gonna move somewhere. That's just a matter of time. But it's just like, have we really stooped that low to that we're just looking at Saka as the savior of Arsenal? It is so crazy to me.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's funny idea. I spoke to a friend of mine who supports Arsenal too, and I said the fact that he's played the amount of games he's played at his age is ridiculous. The fact that he starts every week, because we actually can't rest him because there's no one else who can come in and perform, is ridiculous. And it shows you the state that the club are at when they have to rely on a young 19-year-old having to start every week and try and create something because no one else can step up to do the same.
You run that risk of giving that young 18, 19-year-old kid glandular fever, making him get a long-term injury.
Yeah, same. Which is what, and I think that was a factor with Jack Wilshere. When you look at his injury problems, there was a season when I think maybe when he was 20 years old, he had played like over 50 games that season. Yeah. And obviously, look at the injury problems he's had after. He was actually poorly managed as a youngster because of the amount of games he's played. And I do fear the same sometimes with the likes of Saka in that team.
Yeah, anyway, Arsenal lost its way.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to bigger things. Stepping away from Arsenal for a bit. Obviously, we've seen Wayne Rooney being appointed as Derby manager for the next, I think, 2.5 years. Obviously, we saw Steven Gerrard getting the job at Rangers. We've seen Lampard, getting the job at Derby and moving to Chelsea. Do you think with these footballers now retiring, do you think now that they don't have to earn their stripes now before they're offered a job? And do you think maybe that is a hindrance for maybe England actually producing good, talented managers, because maybe some of them are not really given the same opportunities that some of these high-profile ex-footballers have been given?
Do you know what? Was it Tommy or me?
Yeah. Go on.
I have one.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, so I can't recall properly. Eddie, you might be able to help us out here.
Yeah.
During the 90s, did something similar happen where players were retiring and going straight into management?
There was a spade of that going on, but then it kind of stopped very, very quickly, with, your Paul Lynch retiring and going to here, then, but it wasn't as it is now. It wasn't as it is now. And when the players were in that position, it was almost caretaker roles. The senior players was a caretaker. It was a caretaker roles. It wasn't a case of where you have it now. So that's the biggest difference from my time in obviously seeing that whole evolution of these managers now coming in.
To be fair, now you're talking about it, I remember with Dalglish and Graham Souness, something similar did happen. So it's gone on. It's gone on when top players retire, and especially when they've been at a club where they see, and I think you can always tell when players are going into management. I think the Rooney one surprises me a bit, but you can always tell with how they deal with their teammates and how they just talk about the game in general. And you could argue that what Gerrard is doing, in my opinion, is brilliant. You're in a league with no pressure. You have a chance to actually play the type of football that you want to play, see how it works, learn from it, and then maybe when you get here, you can adapt accordingly. Rather than coming here, Lampard at Chelsea, for example, learning on the job. You could argue, I don't know how long Rooney's going to stay in Derby for, but again, you could argue it's a good job because the pressure is on, but it's not the top level job that he can get. You know, I have an issue when you go straight for the top level job because, in my opinion, once you fail that job, you're not getting another one.
Always down. Yeah, go on,
always down. You know what I mean? And we could sit here and argue and talk about the managers that have been here for longer, like the Allardyce, the Moyes, those kind of managers, and say why are they not getting a chance? But unfortunately, in my opinion, the reality is they're at that level. They're at their level. That's the level they belong to, and they haven't shown anything that makes Chelsea think, hold on, let me give David Moyes a chance. Let me give. We were talking about Eddie Howe for how long? We're talking about Eddie Howe for a very long time. And also, you have to be big enough to attract players. You see what I mean? You have to be big enough to attract players. That's the reality. And the players like Rooney, these youngsters want to play for Rooney. These youngsters want to play for Thierry Henry. These youngsters want to play for Gerrard. They want to play for Lampard. They don't want to play for David Moyes. They don't want to play for Eddie Howe. So I do think some clubs do. And also, I look at the media side of things. Wayne Rooney has more followers than Derby. You know what I mean? So I'm sure they're thinking, is he a good manager? Okay, he's good enough. Why should we take him over the rest of the managers in the championship? Because number one, the kind of players he can attract. Number two, the media attention that he will bring. Anyone else at Derby, Sky Sports are not announcing it or putting it as front page news. So I think recruitment, they look at the whole package, which is why they called these. But then I look at Italy. Mancini played, Ancelotti played, Pirlo played. They're all ex-footballers. So I do get the point of, obviously, don't go to the top too soon, but who else is going to be managers if it's not our ex-players, you know?
Yeah. What I was thinking as well, adding on to your point, you know, if I was a professional footballer and I didn't have a knee injury when I was younger, like
join the club.
Like, if I went into a dressing room and I saw, say, who's an annoying manager, David Moyes. If I saw David Moyes' face in the dressing room, and then, you know, if I went into another dressing room and I saw Wayne Rooney, and David Moyes is waxing lyrical, he might be saying the most like tactical stuff, and Rooney's just standing there. Saying nothing. I would want to play for Rooney because that's Wayne Rooney. You know what I mean? Like your morale will be high. You will see David Moyes and think, look what you did to Man United. And then you look at Rooney and say, look what you did for Man United. So like it's the type of thing with Zidane at Real Madrid. I don't know if Zidane's like, is Zidane known for his tactical prowess?
He won 3 Champions Leagues.
3 Champions Leagues, but you know, like it's
Can't argue against that.
Players like Pogba want to go and play for Zidane, not for Real Madrid.
You're right.
So it's
for both, but I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Go on, Daniel.
That's what these clubs do. You know, they will go in and you look at Frank Lampard because there's nothing on Frank Lampard's credentials that tells you he's fit and ready to manage Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah.
There's nothing on his managerial CV that says that, right? Right? Because I think we would have the same managerial CV as Frank, right? If it comes to it. The only one he would have above us would be Derby County, right?
Yeah.
But what they look at, they say, well, Frank Lampard, we could take a gamble on Frank. Why? Because it's a calculated gamble. Okay? Because Frank is non-threatening. Okay? He is very vanilla.
Yeah.
But he was the record goal scorer for Chelsea. So what that does in layman's terms is that it gives Frank Lampard an extra year on his credit line in terms of being a manager. Because the next time they say, oh, well, you know what, it is super Frank Lampard. look what he done for us. So there's an element of sentiment that comes into it. But is Frank Lampard ready for a Chelsea job? Sometimes I look at Frank and I think, oh my God, he's done a fantastic job. Then sometimes I look at him and I think this job might be a little bit too big for him. Do you know what I mean? But when your name's Frank Lampard and your uncle's Harry Redknapp and your cousin is Jamie, you're not your average guy. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
And you go on and you play all them games for Chelsea, you win the Champions League, you win the Premier League, you win the FA Cup, you win the League Cup. They're dealing with you differently, and the fans, more importantly, give you the impetus to go on and be a little bit more confident in what you do because you're super Frank Lampard. You know what I mean? So for me, it will be the same effect if a Thierry Henry came and managed Arsenal. Everyone will be buzzing. It will lift the place immediately because everyone will be so ready to see what he's going to do at his former club. And if he wins 3 or 4 games and gets them into top 3, that's for an extra year, which Frank has done. You know what I mean? So I think, is it fair? Of course it's not fair, but what they do, they look at football now on a commercial level, you know? And Wayne Rooney getting that Derby job, come on. If his name was Joe Bloggs, he ain't getting that job. He ain't getting that job, it's facts. He ain't getting that job, you know? He ain't getting that job, but because it's Wayne Rooney, it goes back to what we're saying here. Wayne Rooney could go and knock on Manchester United's door, Everton's door, Liverpool's door, Arsenal's door and say, you know what? Who's the best kid here? He's coming to play for me. Frank Lampard did the same thing at Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
Tomori makes the man all these boys. That's the same thing. Because they want to play for Frank. They want to play for Wayne. Wayne Rooney was their hero. I will talk about Wayne Rooney doing all these overhead kicks and scoring that goal against Newcastle. These boys have all seen that. So when the David Moyes is telling you something, you look at him going, what's this dinosaur talking about? Do you know what I mean? But Wayne can talk to you in a different way that you will relate to him differently. You know, so you go, yeah, but that is Wayne Rooney though. You know what I mean? I think you saw David Moyes play or a Samuel Allardyce play. Do you know what I mean? So it's I see what we're saying, but is it fair? No. Should other managers get the same opportunity? 100%. Is there a level of bias in that? 100%. But we have to understand we are what we are. We're in the space and we're in the business that we know is not equal and is not fair. So unless if your name is Wayne Rooney, Steven Gerrard, Frank, and don't forget, Steven Gerrard's got a massive job. Rangers is not a small club. Believe you and me, Rangers is not a small club. You know,
he's unbeaten this season. He's unbeaten.
No, he's unbeaten this season.
They drew on.
I think they played Motherwell today, right? They was losing.
They should have won that, but you know, anyway, they're unbeaten.
So when your name rings like that, you're gonna be given that chance. Why? Because you can go to Liverpool and get one of the top players. You can get all these boys from these clubs that you played at, you know. And when you want to go on tour and go and play friendly games, believe it or not, if Steven Gerrard picks up the phone and say, "Oh, come down to Glasgow and come and play us at, a pre-season game," everyone's gonna go. Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But does he have the tactical nous and the ability to go and do it? No, because he's working on the job. And he's going to be the front man that sits there, but there's going to be someone behind him saying, listen, Frank, listen, Steve, listen, Wayne, play him, but you stand there, put the suit on, and let the whole media see that you're doing this. That's how it works.
Perfect. So Daniel, would you like to see that moving forward? So for instance, if Jordan Henderson retires in the next 5 years and a year after he retires, would you like to, and he becomes a Liverpool manager? Is that trend you like to see?
James Milner and Henderson.
We'll let Arsenal do that. We'll let United do that. We'll let Chelsea do that. Nah, I don't want that at all. And that's another reason that I'm annoyed that United are first, because they do have a PE teacher as a coach, and I can't believe he's frauding his way to the top of the league. But yeah, I don't want Henderson to be
Gerrard in, bro.
Nah, that's too hard.
That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. If this guy goes unbeaten in Scotland, if this guy goes unbeaten in Scotland for a whole season, the guy's coming to Liverpool.
The thing is, I know he talks to Klopp about tactics, because if you watch Rangers and their style of play and the use of fullbacks, I can't lie. You see,
exactly the same.
Yeah, Yeah.
Harold, you're starting to sound like Gerard's agent now.
Brilliant. But can you imagine me having to criticize Gerard and his management? I don't have it in me. I'll be like, you want to do everything, bro?
No, but the PE teacher's top of the league. Let's not forget that.
Do you know what?
18 games.
Just
18 games.
He's actually doing well.
Yeah,
You know, he is.
Doing well.
You know what? He's doing well, but I don't think he's doing well. He's not doing well from a tactical point of view. I think he's doing well from he's managed the squad and he's built the squad and he's changed the mentality of we're Manchester United, we should be going to win these games. And that's what I think he's done well. But in terms of when I watch United, in terms of building the ball back to front, all that stuff, he doesn't have a clue.
So
that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Beautiful way to round up things. So, Daniel, just to end things, where do you think Liverpool will finish this season, and by how many points? Or how many points do you think Liverpool would in terms of the position they finish?
Where Liverpool finish at this point, I can't. I've been on here. I think I've said about 5 predictions, and all of them look stupid at this point. I'm just going to stop predicting the league. With Liverpool, what they do need to do, they need to start fixing up, in my opinion. They can't continue to play like this because teams like Man City, teams like Manchester United, say what you want, they look like winning games. Like when you watch them, you expect them to win more than you expect Liverpool to win. And that's okay in game week 7, game week 8, but we're in game week 18 now, game week 19. Things are about to get serious. So if Liverpool continue in this form, boy, it could be a 3rd or 4th place. I don't think it will happen, but they need to snap out of this form quickly.
Okay, so moving over to you, Harold. Basically, Daniel said Liverpool are finishing in 3rd. So we will remember that. Where do you think Liverpool are finishing at the end of the season?
I think we'll win the league, and I'll tell you why. First of all, at the moment, the reason why we are absolutely struggling, we've not scored for 3 games, and that's because of our front 3. I refuse to believe that they don't have 15, 20 games of high performance in them. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that we're not going to see 15, 20 games where Mane and Salah are absolutely putting teams to sword. I refuse to believe that. So the fact that for me, we've literally gone almost 6-7 weeks of not picking up 3 points. We pick up 3 points here and there, yet we are still 3 points behind first place. I just think it's just a matter of time. And unfortunately, we don't know when that time is where all of a sudden Mane and Salah turn up. They can't be bad players overnight. And personally don't think they have it in them to go a whole season in bad form. Mane, you could argue, has been in bad form all season. He's too good to be in bad form for the rest of the season. And if those boys turn up, Mane and Salah decide to turn up for the rest of the season, no one is keeping up with us.
So Harold's quite confident first. Eddie, moving to us to Arsenal, obviously seeing things are a bit more dire there. where do you think
chat though?
The energy's changed a bit. Eddie, where do you think Arsenal can finish this season? What would be a respectable finish for Arsenal this season?
Not getting relegated. Not getting relegated. And listen, no, on a serious level, I think for me, a realistic place, top 6. Top six. Why? Because we are a bona fide top 6 side at the moment. And that hurts me to say that because it's a club that I love and it's a club that I support, but it's a top 6 club at the minute, man. And there's no one there to tell me otherwise. And like I said earlier, I look at the Arsenal team when they're gonna go and play a team, and I sit there and I look at the squad and I think there's no one there that I'll go, I can't wait to see this kid play.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? It's like my son said to me the other day, he goes, Dad, I think I might have to change teams.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Honestly.
Them ones are key.
You understand, right? That's the generation that we're in now.
Yeah.
You know, my son is now thinking, God, Dad, I've only been an Arsenal fan because of you, you know. Do you know what I mean? So when Arsenal's riding high and we're going to Wembley and we're doing this and we're doing that, he's like, this is the best football club. But it just goes to show times have changed and changing. And I just feel that right now, there's not an Arsenal team that will be put out there on a Saturday or a Sunday or in the midweek that I'll look at and go, oh, yeah, we're ready for this one. we win a game and it's more by luck than design. Do you know what I mean? And we go out and we're trying. It's almost like, you know, we get that first day at school syndrome, I like to call it. It's like you know who you are, but you're not quite sure of who you are yet because you don't know the environment you're getting into. And when you get into that environment, whereabouts you're going to fit into that pecking order. So it's all these mind games that you can actually see when you watch these boys play that they're trying to figure out. There's no clear directive on, we are Arsenal, this is the way we play, this is how we're going to go and do it. It's very, very sad at the minute being an Arsenal supporter, and it's very, very frustrating because there's nothing there that I look at enough that gives me any confidence. And if we're pinning our whole hopes on Saka, I just think we're in a real bad place right now.
No, I agree
and
with you.
That's not to say Saka's a top player, and he will be a top player, and he'll go on and probably play for other big clubs, you know. Yeah, exactly. But it just goes to show that's where we are. That's where we are. Arsenal had 5 or 6 top players. Now we got 1, possibly 2, and our best player's not even playing.
So Eddie's not even optimistic of 6, or you
no.
respectable of 6, but
unfortunately I've done that and been bitten a few times, so I'm just trying to keep it real at the minute.
No, so am I. That's the reason why I'm keeping quiet.
Tommy, where do you think United will finish?
Wait. Tommy, it seems like you're in a nicely positioned. Wait, because Tommy's nicely positioned, because he's above you guys, looking below you two. So, you know, so looking from above, Tommy, where do you think United is finishing?
Oh, so wait, I just want to counteract a point from Harold quickly. You know, Salah is gonna turn up, but in the summer he's gonna turn up in Madrid. Anyway,
yeah, very true.
I think his mind's already there. That's why he's not playing.
He can go. Bring in Mbappe. Bring me Mbappe.
Mbappe's gonna be with him in Madrid.
They can't afford both of them. Sorry.
So they didn't spend the summer anyway. Let me. I think Man U, a top 3 finish is fantastic for this squad. Next season is when they have to start.
No, I'm not having that. I never thought I'd see the day when United fan is on the fence.
No, I like to be realistic. We're at the they're at the top. I don't like to say we because it's not a quote, but they're at the top now. They're at the top now. I'm not playing for them. They're at the top now. It's fantastic. Ole is proved a lot of people wrong at this stage. Nearly 20 games in the season, he's top of the league. I feel like there's a point where they are gonna drop off because this is just too beautiful. It's just like it's dreamland now.
I agree, you will drop off.
the thing is, before I leave, like, people say Ole has proved people wrong, but I think people are hiding because people always say United will drop off. But why are they going to drop off? Because Rashford is a good player, Pogba is a good player, Bruno Fernandes is a good player. No, but like, what is the reason why those group of players cannot maintain a type of talent? And unfortunately for me, it's because you guys don't trust the manager really and truly. You don't think this manager can lead you to the league. And a lot of United fans don't want to say that, but it's the truth. That's why a lot of United fans are sitting on the fence, in my opinion. If United if United had Pep, you would be saying.
Yeah, but I to the fact that Oli was an ex-striker for them. So
for 7 years,
he's gonna have a lot more credit to foul, you know. So he's getting a lot more chances.
You know what's been going on? Ole, when he first got in the job, there was this thing where Ole's at the wheel. So, and then all Man U fans were online saying Ole's at the wheel, you know, with the steering wheel, you know, rolling. Now, they had like, what's the word I'm looking for? Every time Man U lose, they bring out that Rio meme, and it's quite embarrassing. So now we have to be quite cautious on what we say. We're not talking about cars no more. We're not doing all that. We have to be cautious because it's brutal out there.
It's brutal, but you're cautious because you know he ain't it. That really and truly. If you had a City fan here, they wouldn't be saying no top 3. They'll be saying we're gonna win the league. I'm just saying top 3 because I'm shook We should have slapped United today. I'm fuming. That's the only reason. But with Harold is staying top of the league because he knows he has Jurgen Klopp. And I just want to say that because I'm seeing a lot of United fans say, "Oh, we're not gonna win the league. We're not gonna win the league." And then when people go on to Oli, don't go on to Oli. But why don't you think you're gonna win the league since you rate every single player? There's still people at Marshall FC. I don't know why. Can't score a goal, but it's because of your manager. He ain't good.
You know
he
what?
ain't good.
You know what's got a ring to it? The shout out to Manny, 21 and 21. That's all I'm gonna say.
And to wrap things up, well, hopefully neither one of your clubs can be shouted 21 in 21. And hopefully by the end of next week, maybe we might see Liverpool in 6th place, and that might quieten down Harold and Daniel. By the way, that was another episode of FS Uncut. Tommy, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me in Newcastle.
Moving on.
Don't come looking for me. No. Yeah, it's Mr. Reality. That's my rap name, innit?
Oh gosh.
It's just there on the screen.
And Harold, yourself.
You can find me Kweku_TVB on Twitter. And yeah, I'm not in Newcastle, I'm in London.
And yourself, Daniel.
Yeah, Papilo017. You might see me ranting because we should be running away with this league, but we thought let's make it competitive and hopefully we win it back to back. Something else I've done for what?
Wonderful. And our special guest, Eddie, plug yourself.
Sorry, I lost you there. Say again, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, and our special guest, Eddie, plug yourself. Let people know what you do, where they can find you.
We're going to need about another hour, but no, you can find me. You can find me at Duo101 on Twitter. And yeah, I'm here as of when you guys need me.
Thank you for joining us.
To mention the football agent bit.
Okay. That's just the day job. That's the day job. This is the real job. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's another episode of FS Uncut. You can find out FS Uncut on Twitter, on our Instagram socials page, and on Facebook too.
Don't forget to like.